There are 3 miracles of the Quran that confirmed my decision to leave Christianity for Islam.
These are not miracles in the Quran. Let's take a look.
The first one is the fact that the Quran explains the stages of embryonic development to a T. You can find it in Surah 23, ayah 12 through 14.
When we look at the passage, this is so vague, right? You can at least make out this idea of like the sperm, it's going into the woman's body, and of course that starts the process of the child forming in the womb. You don't have to be a scientist to figure that out. Human beings have understood that since the beginning of procreation. But the passage literally gets the process wrong. It says that it's a lump, and then it made the lump bones, and then covered the bones with flesh. That's not how babies are formed in the womb. The flesh and the bones, the muscles, all that, it forms together in the process. Apparently, the author of the Quran didn't know that 1400 years ago, so we get this instead.
Second miracle is about how the Quran talks about the Big Bang before we even knew the Big Bang was a thing. You'll find it in Surah 51, ayah 47.
So I just want you to be honest with yourself. If you did not just hear her reference the Big Bang, and you just came across this verse in the Quran, would you think to yourself that it's referring to the Big Bang? I can't. I don't even know. Like, do I need to provide any commentary? Reading the verse itself just debunks it. But I mean, I just looked at just like minimal research. A lot of ancient Islamic scholars thought that the universe was stable, not expanding. The Bible says similar things. Verse 8, you can read this whole thing. It says, "And God called the expanse heaven," referring to space. But as a Christian, I recognize that Genesis 1 is not making a scientific claim about the expanse of the universe. And neither is the Quran. And the reality is that many ancient thinkers, someone like Epicurus, who's hundreds and hundreds of years before the Quran, had ideas about an infinite and boundless universe. None of which, though, including the Quran, had any idea of the Big Bang, because it's a 20th century theory.
And the last miracle of the Quran talks about that separation in the ocean that I'm sure you know about, where one side looks a little blue, one side looks a little green.
So according to the Quran, when two bodies of water come together, particularly fresh and salt water, they don't mix because there's a barrier there, which is 100% false according to modern science. The eye, it looks like they're not mixing, which is why someone 1400 years ago would write that down. But it turns out that they actually are. And there is somewhat of a barrier that forms, but ultimately turns into a mixing zone. And so the Quran is actually wrong about this, because the Quran is not stating miracles. I hope that this woman sees this video, takes these things very seriously, and converts back to Christianity, where there is hope and peace in life in the gospel of Christ.